And welcome to another episode of GamerHeads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me this week I have my co-host Christian.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad to be back.
Yeah, you're a regular now.
Yeah, the third inaugural episode that I've been on the podcast.
You may be on more episodes than Jake at this point.
Really?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not
We're gonna
100%
need the
sure.
fact checkers on that one.
Who cares about facts? It's all about feelings, and I feel that you've been on the episode more often than Jake has, so congratulations.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate your opinion, Roger.
What? You know what? One thing I never asked you, what is your gamer tag?
My gamer tag for most things is Folgin, F-O-L-G-I-N.
What's that based on?
It was made up. It was based on me being roughly 12 years old, and I was playing Dungeons and Dragons online, and I needed a username, and I was like, oh, I gotta come up with something. It's gotta sound like medieval-y. We'll do Folgin, and I just made it up on the spot.
That's pretty good for a 12-year-old.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of proud of it. I haven't found any reason to change it to this day. I am extremely creatively bankrupt, Roger. So I'm still riding off my 12-year-old's coattails.
Yeah, well, like Gene said in that episode last week, and if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to that interview with Jean Leggett. It was a really good interview.
Awesome.
But she said something along the lines that we lose our creativity by the age of 12. Like only like 8% of our brain is used for creativity. So you peaked at 12.
Yep.
That's okay. Most people do. So
That's good to hear.
How was your weekend?
It was good, Roger. I took a trip to Milwaukee. I didn't eat at any shelter. Bomb shelter? Is that what you said I should have eaten at? A bomb shelter?
No, you should have eaten at the Safe House.
Safe House. Okay.
Yeah, I can't believe you've never been to the Safe House.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, it's awesome. So it's a spy restaurant. And it's not called the Safe House. It's actually called like International Inc. or something like that when you go see it on the outside. So it's like all secret. And then to get in, you have to know the secret password.
Really?
You do. Yeah, you really do. And if you don't know it, then they make you do something silly. And then everybody watches it on camera. And then they let you in.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I happen to know the secret password, but I am not going to tell anybody.
Okay. Well, maybe the next time I'll seek it out. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
It is really cool. And then, so we took our kids there last month because my daughter's really into spies and I got her all these books that I used to have as a kid about being a spy and like how to sneak up and how to send secret messages to friends and things like that.
Yeah. So
on her birthday, I got her that, and then we took her out to the spy restaurant. Sorry, it's like a museum inside there too, because there's all these pictures and whatnot. But it's kind of fun. And then when you leave, you can go out the regular door, or you can walk through their secret door, and you you walk into this telephone booth. And it used to be that you would have to type in this telephone number, and then the door would slide open. But now you have to put your finger up to this thing. And then the door slides open, but you have to pay $1 to get out of this door.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. And if you don't have like $1 on you or your credit card, I guess, then you're kind of stuck in this room.
Wow.
But this wall slides open, and then you go down this dark passage. Like, it looks really creepy. You go down the stairs, and my daughter was like, "I don't think we should be here. I don't think we should be here. This is really creepy." I'm like, no, it's fine. And then you walk around this corner, and there's like a motion sensor, and they have this guy like a voice come on the speaker saying, "Who goes there? Why are you here?" Or something along those lines. And my daughter's like, "We got to go down."
That sounds like it's cool. Very entertaining time.
Yeah, there's only two that I know of. One in Milwaukee and one in Chicago. I think those are the only two that are in existence. So.
Cheers. Okay. It sounded like you ran into a literal paywall by having to put $1 in to progress further.
Technically, yes. Yeah. I was kind of worried. I was like, oh, God. I mean, I had my credit card on me. It wasn't a big deal. But I was just like, oh, man, if they don't take cash, I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah. Jeez.
I'm stuck in here. And the door locks behind you, so you can't go out the other way.
Oh, no. That doesn't sound pleasant. Well, Roger, what were you up to this weekend?
I replaced my water pressure tank in
Ooh,
my house.
jeez.
And let me tell you, I was like, I called my dad and I said, Dad, I think we can do this. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, no, I think we can. I think we can do this. I've been watching a lot of videos. I think we can do this. I could save myself like a couple $100
Yeah.
by doing it myself. And really, it was super easy.
Oh,
it was
really?
like, yeah, like probably one of the easiest projects I've done in my house.
Jeez.
So I was really proud of myself that I actually, fixed something. I will say, I was warned by a friend of mine saying that their father had some problems fixing their water pressure, and it like took off. It hit him in the face.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Yeah, not funny at all. I'm like, oh my gosh. So when I turned on the pump though, my dad stepped back. He's like, I'm just gonna step out of that room.
Nice. Oh.
I turned it on and then I ran into the room. I'm like listening to make sure the water's filling into the tank, and I'm like, I think it's good. And my dad's like stepping backwards. I had total confidence in our ability, and it works. I mean, it's perfect.
That's good. That's good. It sounds like something that would be very intimidating.
I think it can be because the thing is that it's pressurized. So people that don't have wells, what it is you have water pouring into from your well. You're pulling it from the well into a reserve tank, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So your pump is not just constantly running whenever you ask for water. It puts in this reserve tank, and then the reserve tank has a bladder on top of it. Sometimes they have it on the side as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a bladder that pushes down. It's all compressed air, and it pushes down on the water, so that way it pushes water through your pipes for the pressure. And my old tank, when we moved into this house, like probably, I don't know, a year into the house, the water pressure started going down and then it would pulsate, which means that my pump is just working super hard to try to, get water to us. So I called the plumber at that point, and they gave me a quote of like $500 to get that replaced. And what I looked online, and they said sometimes that the bladder just, if it's an older tank, it just needs to be charged.
Mm-hmm.
But don't fill the bladder with air when it has water in it, because that's the problem.
Yeah.
You can like overpressurize it, and then if there's no way for that water to escape, it's gonna just explode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to let all the water out, which takes forever because it's like a 30-gallon tank. And then you have to fill it with air. So I had an air compressor, and then so I did that for like a year and a half, where every 6 months I was like draining the water out, filling the air. And then finally, the last time, it just it wouldn't take the. I mean, I could hear there was a leak in the bladder. I could hear it inside the tank going. Shh,
yeah.
Shh. So I was like, all right, I gotta replace this thing. So yeah, it was good. One thing that my dad said that made sense. He's like, well, just when you're draining the other tank, hook up a hose to it and then put it to a sink or drain or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hooked up the hose, it just started spraying all over the place. And I was just like, forget it. I'm just going to do it the old school way of just bucket by bucket and just get water out.
Wow.
Yeah.
You sound like a master plumber now, Roger.
No, the videos that I was watching, I mean, he said if you have basic plumbing skills, I'm like, I have basic plumbing skills. I could do this. So yeah, the hardest part was getting the pipes off the old one, because it just was so. And then we noticed that it was just kinked in it. I couldn't get the old pipe off, so I had to buy a brand new. It's a nipple, that's what it's called.
Jeez, Roger.
It's the pipe that goes between the elbow joint and the actual where the water goes flowing through up to my house. So
we don't talk about those kind of fixtures here.
I know. This is a PG show. Sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was my weekend. I have an icebreaker for us this week.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
What is one game that everyone loves that you don't like?
I've got a couple.
Ooh, a couple?
Yeah. Generally, it tends to be that my opinion of a game usually aligns with kind of public perception, but there are some exceptions to that. The most egregious one, I think, is probably Spelunky. So I know people who love Spelunky, and they cannot get enough Spelunky, and they play it for hundreds and hundreds of hours. And I've maybe played it for like 5 or 6 hours, and I can't I can't find it fun. I don't understand the
Oh,
appeal. I can't do it, Roger. Do you like Spelunky?
wow. I do. I enjoy it. I can't say I put in hundreds of hours into the game,
Hmm.
but I enjoy it just because it's kind of casual.
Yeah.
It's not like a hardcore game. Uh, what was the game that came out a couple of years ago? It was like La Muna, I think, or La Mamona. I'm not sure what it was called. It was on the Wii.
Okay.
It was similar. It was a similar. Uh, well, it was also on PC too, I think. But it was a similar concept where you go dungeon or cave jiving, and you're kind of like an Indiana Jones type character.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see why though. I mean, like it is. You're more of a hardcore gamer, so that's more maybe too casual for you.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. Is that why?
I don't know. I understand it gets very difficult. I understand that, and some people find that very appealing because like a couple hits can take you out, and so you kind of have to like dodge and like carefully move through these precarious situations. But I don't know. I just don't find it intrinsically satisfying to just move through without kind of like bettering my character in any way. Or I guess the idea is that you become more experienced as you go deeper into the caves. But I don't know, that just didn't really click with me all that well. Maybe someday it will.
Hmm.
What about you, Roger? What's your main game that you found hard to get into?
I have a couple myself. I would say the one I had one in mind until like we talked before the show, and then I realized, oh, it's actually this one.
Ooh.
I'd have to say Bloodborne.
Bloodborne.
I couldn't. It's too hard for me.
So it's like the opposite situation where it's maybe a little too
right.
like core for you.
Do you like that game?
Yeah, I do. I've played through Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and I have picked up Bloodborne, and I've gotten about like 10 or 12 hours into it, and I've been meaning to play through it again. I just have not yet.
I got maybe about 5 or 6 minutes into it, and I was like, "This is ridiculous. I'm just dying all the time.
Yeah,
this is not fun."
Yeah,
I don't know.
But
so the other
you
the
go
other
ahead.
one I was gonna say the other one I was gonna say is man, people are gonna really like say what? Probably with the other one too. Probably people say what?
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Worlds. I just
Yeah.
I it's not that I didn't like it, and then we talked about this in the last podcast, but it just I don't know, like it was just like, okay, I'm hunting the same stuff over and over. Like this is not, I don't know, it just wasn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just wasn't fun.
It's tough getting into Monster Hunter, especially because a lot of the motivation has to come kind of within, because a lot of my satisfaction with the game is setting my own goals and being like, okay, I want to build this set of armor and I want to build all of it, so I'm going to be hunting the same dragon like 6 times to get everything I need out of it. And it's kind of a grind, but it's satisfying to have that full set of armor afterwards. But I fell off it pretty hard because I put maybe like 20 or so hours into it, and then I got to a point where I'm trying to progress the story and I'm fighting this monster, and then I lose to the monster, and then it just kills all the momentum I had going into that fight.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. I played, have you played the one on the Wii at all? Monster Hunter Tri?
No, I have played Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on 3DS quite a bit though.
Oh. Yeah, so like a lot of people say that Monster Hunter Tri is not very good, and it I mean, it's really hard to get into.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, probably one of the more fun times I had with that game was when a friend of mine, we were friends in high school and like best friends through grade school and high school, and then we moved away, but from each other. But we both had a Wii and we both played Monster Hunter Tri, and we were fighting as this monster. And man, I'm not kidding. It was like 2 hours. It felt like of just fighting this stupid monster, and all we got to kill off of it was a stupid tail. Like the tail fell off this thing. And we were like, what do we do with this? I mean, and then you can make like stuff out of the tail, but like it was just so funny. Like, and it was kind of epic. It was a little epic.
Really?
I wouldn't say I really enjoyed that game. I certainly like Worlds better.
Yeah.
But that being said, I just couldn't get into those games. It is, and I like grinding. I enjoy grinding in games. Like, but it just was kind of tedious after a while for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's a high barrier of entry, and like I said, it's easy to just completely fall off at some point, especially when you've got friends that you're playing with, and then they play without you, and then they're way better than you, and then you feel like you're just holding everyone back.
Yeah,
it just spirals out of control. It snowballs.
Yeah.
Another game that I had in mind that I didn't particularly enjoy as much as most people seem to was Braid, which was a indie game by Jonathan Blow.
Yeah.
That game kind of kicked off the indie game craze, I think it was, back on the 360, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I played through it beginning to end, and it wasn't kind of registering with me. It wasn't clicking with me all that much. That's a game that I had spoiled for me. So, I mean, the game story in general was kind of in like public perception, in the public eye pretty early on because of kind of how inventive it was.
Yeah.
So given that, like, kind of the revelation at the end of the story was kind of taken out of it. And because of that, I found the motivation for doing the puzzles a little less significant. And some of the puzzles I just found frustrating rather than fun to figure out. But I saw it through all the way to the end.
That's good.
But yeah, I enjoy The Witness significantly more, which was the second game by Jonathan Blow. I love that game a lot. I also finished that. That's fantastic. Have you ever played The Witness, Roger?
No, I didn't realize that was the same. I didn't realize that was made by the same creator. I didn't realize that. I have The Witness. It was one of the free games with the games with gold.
Yeah.
Xbox One. So
yeah, it's kind of slow and plotting, but I like it a lot. And there's kind of like a revelation at the heart of that game. And its mechanics, which is basically what Jonathan Blow built the game off of, was the player having this revelations at some point throughout the game. It's really cool seeing how he kind of sets that up and plants that seed.
Yeah, I remember when that game came out, I was saying how wonderful that game is. I do have to play it. I mean, I have it. Yeah, I do have to play that game. So cool. Yeah, I never. You know what? I gotta admit, I haven't played Braid either.
Yeah.
Or Super Meat Boy. I haven't played that game.
Yeah, that was another one that kicked off the indie game craze.
Yeah, it seemed like there was the trifecta, that game and then Fez as well.
Yep, totally. Yeah, the indie game movie games.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting movie for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Well, listeners, if you have a game that everybody loves but you don't like, I would like to know what your game is. You can send us a tweet at GamerHeads PC. We are pretty active there. And on Facebook now, Christian is the curator, if you will, of our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/GamerHeadsPodcast. Christian, you've been pretty active on that as well. We'll talk about that when we get to games we're playing.
Yeah. I try to post there as much as I can. I'll post little reviews of games that I finish after I'm finished with them too. So that's something to stay tuned for.
Yeah. Check that out. So, let us know what games that you don't like that other people really love, and we can even share that online next episode. Yeah. All right, so let's go next into our GamerHeads news flash. So I have some items here, Christian, and then if you have some items, certainly jump in. The first one I have here, I didn't realize this. I didn't even know this was a project. Microsoft, I'm sorry, not Microsoft. Minecraft movie was delayed after director leaves the project. The movie was set to come out in 2019. And now it sounds like it's being rewritten totally. So,
jeez.
Did you know there was gonna be a Minecraft movie?
No, I didn't. I feel like we hear about these video game movies like every year. We hear about 2 or 3 of them that are coming supposedly, and then they go through development troubles, and then we don't hear about them forever. And I guess they're still maybe happening. Like there's a Sly Cooper movie that was announced like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, a long time ago. That's supposedly been in development for forever, and we haven't seen that yet.
Wow.
And there's like an Uncharted movie they're making, where we just heard about like a Halo miniseries.
Yeah.
We don't stop hearing about these video game movies, and I personally am okay with not getting any of them. I'm fine just playing the video games.
Yeah, I agree. Minecraft to me, I think would be a weird game to make. I guess there is a story to it, but the appeal to Minecraft is that people like create their own worlds. I just like, I guess if you make it like the Lego movie, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems Warner Brothers is behind this game, so.
There's the Telltale Minecraft. Have you ever played that, Roger?
No, because I heard it's terrible.
Yeah. I played the first episode and a little bit of the second episode, so I understood what they were going for. They definitely take a more story-focused approach, and that could be a possible like take on a Minecraft movie where they just kind of create and place these characters in the Minecraft universe. So all these characters are named and they have personalities and they just interact with the Minecraft world. So they'll like when it gets to nighttime, they'll be like, oh no, we have to run away from the zombies and creepers. And then in the daytime, they have a crafting contest and they're like, okay, we're going to build a giant skeleton.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds really lame.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it's a Telltale game for the kids.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and obviously I'm sure this movie is directed towards kids as well. So I mean,
yeah.
But who knows? I don't know. Maybe it won't be. Maybe now it's gonna be rewritten. It'll be a horror movie. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. There's supposed to be a Mario movie by the Illumination Studios, who do the Minions.
Yep. That one I knew, and that one I heard. Yeah, that one I heard that was still in production, and they were gonna give Mario like more speaking lines. Which
yeah.
Thing, so.
Did you watch the original Super Mario Brothers movie back in the day, Roger?
Fans of the podcast know that I have.
Yeah.
And I know that Matt and Jake loved that movie. I did not, but I think it's more of a nostalgia thing. You know, they're same with, you know, well, you guys are younger than me.
Yeah.
I just thought it was terrible. Have you seen it?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. So it's funny because I think because you're younger than Matt and Jake, so I think it's like that. You know, that time frame where like I was too old to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Matt and Jake are like that perfect age when it came out. And they're like, whoa, and then I think you're too young to even know about this, movie. So
yeah, it was a different age for Nintendo.
Yeah, for sure. I did watch the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh yeah,
but that is on Netflix, and I mentioned this before to listeners as well. But like, I enjoyed Captain Lou Albano as Super Mario, as Mario.
Yeah.
He was funny. It was a fun show.
That's cool.
It was goofy, but it was a fun show. And then the cartoons were based off of Super Mario 2, I think.
Oh,
2 and 3.
Okay.
So, because they had Mauser as one of the bosses, and they had Koopa as like the main bad guy. So
yeah, it sounds like it would be fun going back and watching an episode or two of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's still on Netflix, so if you haven't seen it, you should check that out. The next one, speaking of Nintendo confirms the correct pronunciation for NES. So in the museum section of the Japanese version of WarioWare Gold, there are some slides showcasing the Famicom, and then it also includes a picture of the NES. And with the description, Nintendo themselves say that it's pronounced NESS, NES.
Well, Roger, I tend not to have very strong opinions about anything. So in the realm of how are you supposed to pronounce NES, that doesn't rank very highly with, yeah, I did, with how you're supposed to pronounce NES. It doesn't rank very high up there of importance for me personally, but I was born after the NES, so it doesn't have a huge impact on me personally. What about you, Roger? Does this just shatter your reality?
No, it doesn't. I don't. I'm in the same boat with you. It didn't bother me if you called it NES or NES or whatever. It does though. It makes me question. Then what's the Super Nintendo? Is it SNES or is it SNES?
Yeah.
SNES?
Maybe when they make a Mother 4, they'll create a character who will have that name, and then we will all know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a similar situation to GIF and GIF. I pronounced it GIF for the longest time because that's just how I
Yeah.
read it. And then
Yeah.
just like common perception, common opinion came up that it's supposed to be pronounced GIF. And so I just kind of started saying GIF because I would feel weird if I like caused an argument because I said GIF because that's just how I pronounced it the first time.
Yeah.
And so I just avoided confrontation by calling it GIF from now on.
Or you just say, you know that those like you can send like little videos and then
Yeah. Yeah, the little moving picture things you see on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't say I've ever called it GIF. I mean GIF, but I called it GIFs.
Mhm.
But to me, again, it's not. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. Whatever you call it. NES, NES, potato.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's fine. It's all fine.
Nintendo. I have another Nintendo thing here. Nintendo has sold more than 19 million Switches years to date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's sold more than 6 million units than the Wii U.
Yeah, they came out with a lot of numbers with like these charts that came out. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were really cool to see, just seeing all of their sales in context of each other. And they've sold a whole lot of DSs. Holy jeez.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
So the other thing that they also announced too is that they sold nearly 87 million units of software so far for the Switch.
Yeah, that's insane.
What do you think is the number one game sold on the Switch?
This is tough. I believe I heard that Mario Kart always sells well. So if I had to guess, I would say Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Ooh, it was very close. Mario Odyssey actually took number one.
That's awesome.
11.17 million sales to date.
Yeah, I guess Mario just has that mainstream appeal. I know those new Super Mario Bros. Games are like always bestsellers. Those always sell extremely well, even though they're just kind of the same thing as the previous one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's weird because then Mario Kart 8, like you said, it sold 10.35 million. And then the one that I actually thought was going to sell the most was Legend of Zelda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that sold 9.32 million units. So I was a little surprised with that because considering that Zelda came out, that was a launch title for the Switch. But I guess it also came on the Wii U, so I mean people could have bought it there as well.
Yeah, like you're saying, yeah, I'm surprised it didn't sell better, being a launch title and being kind of by some opinions the only launch title on the Switch worth having. I'm surprised that it didn't sell more, but I think if you look at a historical perspective, Zelda games just don't sell as well as the clamors on the internet would lead you to believe. And I think Metroid games are in a similar vein.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, I was shocked to see Mario Odyssey number one. So good for Mario.
Yeah, it's a great game, Roger.
It is. You've beaten that game and have all your moons, don't you?
Yes, I have all my moons, 880.
Gosh. That is crazy, man. This is why you're the hardcore gamer on this podcast.
Yeah. But Roger, your blimp turns gold when you get all of the moons.
Oh man. And then what do?
Then you gotta grind coins because if you get 999 moons, then a giant hat goes on Peach's castle.
Oh. Are you grinding for that?
No, I have not grinded for that. I've not considered that worth it yet.
That's funny. The last item that I have, the GameFly is shutting down its video game streaming service at the end of the month.
Have you ever used GameFly, Roger?
No, I haven't. I didn't even know they had a streaming service at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. I'm curious to see how that even worked. I'm not aware.
Yeah, me either. I didn't know this, but EA bought them not too long ago.
Oh, interesting.
And I mean, I guess there was already in the works that they were going to close down their streaming service. I just wonder if EA, like, I don't know,
was like the straw that broke the back on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe like kind of said, let's do this sooner than later, right?
Yeah. And EA is doing their own streaming service if their last E3 is anything to believe. So I guess that would make sense.
Yeah. That was my thought too.
Yeah. The only reason I've used GameFly in the past is sometimes they'll have sales on their games. Like they'll sell some of their older titles that kind of aren't very popular anymore, but they still have like the boxes and all the keys and all the discs that are just sitting there, so they'll sell them pretty cheap.
Oh.
So I've used them for that in the past. But yeah, I think these game streaming services probably the market's probably a little saturated, considering that there isn't exactly a high demand yet. But we might see a resurgence once the new Xbox comes out.
Well, that's my question too. I mean, like, because that seems like, Project Scarlet's, obviously bold move is to make just basically a streaming box. I mean, it sounds like they might have two different options. You have the streaming box, and then you can buy the one that would also play physical media as well. But that's interesting to me as well. Like, I don't know. Like, it's interesting with everything with like dismantling of net neutrality, like, data caps and everything. Like, I don't know. I just think that it's an interesting time for sure, from a standpoint where you're trying to move the ball forward in regards to cloud gaming, and then you might run into, the politics of everything. So
yeah, I think game streaming definitely has yet to take off, because I mean, PlayStation has been pushing PS Now for a good long while now. That's been available for a long while, but it hasn't come into the public eye in any meaningful way, probably because the performance just isn't there yet.
Yeah. Have you ever used that?
No, I've been tempted to, but I can't say I have.
Yeah, I haven't either. I do belong to the Game Pass, which is $10 a month, but that one you actually download the games to your system.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit different.
Yeah, there was rumors about allowing PlayStation Now subscribers to download PS4 games that are on the service locally and then just play them that way, and that would pique my interest in the service, absolutely. But you would also have to stream any PS3 games, because those wouldn't run natively on your PS4 hardware.
Yeah.
But if they do that, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Did you have any other news?
No, Roger. Nothing really stands out.
Okay. So, well, then let's take a break here. And then when we come back, we'll get into our hot topic. So stay tuned.
Hi, this is Michelle Madison from the Video Game Outsiders podcast. We've been churning out stupidity and gaming since 2004, and we would love for you to check us out. So visit videogameoutsiders.com for more information, or find us anywhere podcasts are available.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, hey, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage because you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode, I take a look at video games based on comic book properties and how well they stick to that source material. So, whether you know the comics and want to actually learn how these games work, or know the games and want to know what the hell is going on, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com, the Brain Trust Bros Network, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Hey, it's Carrington from Real Dudes Podcast, and with me I have some fantastic co-hosts. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
This is Andrew, coming to you from Lynchburg, Ohio.
This is Cody, coming from you also from Ohio.
And this is Kyle, coming to you straight from the armpits of West Virginia. We are an indie gaming podcast. We all share a love for games, and you can check out our show on Podbean. Just search for Real Dudes Podcast. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, really any of the podcasting outlets that you like to use. Again, that is Real Dudes Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you love video games, you will love our show.
Hello, this is Meg Stuyvesant from Small Monsters Games. Our newest card game is Takeout, a social set-building game for 2 to 4 players. In Takeout, players are backpackers traveling in China and trying to order delicious Chinese food. Unfortunately, none of you speak Chinese. The object of the game is to get one dish of each flavor, sweet, sour, salty, spicy, and bitter, and a cold drink into your meal, before any of your friends do. To win, use your superior chopstick skills to steal tasty food from someone else's plate, or use a Mandarin English phrasebook to attack your friends. This game was inspired by my years living and working in China. Takeout was a tabletop showcase selection at last year's Boston Festival of Indie Games. You can check out our website, smallmonstersgames.com, or follow us on Twitter at small_monsters for more. Thank you.
Do you like video games? Do Do you like to read? Alright, guys, I know that those two things usually don't go so well together, but my new book, The Minds Behind the Games, Interviews with Cult and Classic Video Game Developers, is kind of like an ESPN 30 for 30 collection of interviews with some of the coolest creators in video game history. We're talking iconic games, Deus Ex, Mortal Kombat, Wasteland, NBA Jam, not so iconic, E.T., Night Trap, indie games, Pro Wrestling X, Towerfall. If you love video games, you will love my book. If you know nothing about video games and want to get in the know, read my book. It's available wherever fine books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, and of course my site, patrickhickeyjr.com. It's an awesome book. I had a ton of fun writing it, and simply put, if you want to get in the know and you want to find out stuff that's not even on Wikipedia, check it out. You won't regret it.
Do you remember the days when console games were pure simple fun? No loot crates, season passes or crowdfunding. You just paid for the game and it was yours to keep. You didn't have to sit through hours of boring cutscenes, and there were no loading screens to keep you from the action. At Four Horses Games, we remember those days and we aim to bring them back. Miles and Kilo, our latest release on the Nintendo Switch, is pure action from start to finish. Run, jump, slide and swing your way across 36 action-packed levels as you and your dog try to escape a haunted island, battling bosses along the way. Still need more? 20 tough achievements and a time attack mode keep you going that extra mile. Reviewers are saying that Miles and Kilo is a must-have title. Available now on the Nintendo Switch and coming to other consoles later this year.
And welcome back to GamerHeads. This week's topic is actually something that we could have probably talked about a month ago, but then recent developments made me start thinking about this again. But what does it mean to the game industry if GameStop closes its doors? So recently, GameStop has continued their Elite program, which was to compete with the Best Buy Games Unlocked program. Best Buy actually canceled their program as well, and now GameStop has canceled their program, ending as of August the 1st. Yeah, August the 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no more. It's weird. So I guess I have a couple questions here that we can kind of walk through. The first one is I guess I'm wondering why cancel the program? Why was it cutting too much in their profits? And do you really think that canceling the program will hurt GameStop?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I'm very curious to see what the answer to it actually is in the future. But I know that they unveiled this program that they were supposedly going to have where you could subscribe for the service at the stores and you could have any used game rented out at a time, and then you could swap it for a new one.
Yeah, it was $60 for 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, and that sounded interesting. It sounded like they were coming up with an idea that might keep them more relevant, but they just kind of hand waved it away as soon as it was supposed to start and said our systems can't handle it.
Yeah,
which was weird.
Right? Don't you think, from a project management standpoint, don't you think that they would have figured that out phase one?
Yeah.
Can we handle this program?
Yeah, you'd assume so. But that wasn't the case with this. They clearly were able to handle it to some extent. I think this the new membership, it just gave you more reward points that you could use on coupons and the like, and then it would give you an extra discount on pre-owned games, which I assume is where GameStop is making most of their margins.
Yes.
So by just getting rid of that option, I guess they were looking at the numbers and it was no longer profitable to them to offer those steep discounts for a membership fee. I guess consumers were getting more money back than they were spending on a subscription, which I think was probably the case with the Best Buy Gamers Club Unlocked, was that they were saving significantly more money than they were putting in for the subscription.
Yeah, it's weird. So the program, you get 20 points for every dollar spent, and then 10% off of pre-owned games, additional 10% off. So I think it was 20% off versus the 10% for just being a pro member, and then an extra 10% for trading credit as well. So yeah, I received an email that says the Power Up Rewards Elite Program Pro membership level is retiring as of 8/1. This means that your Elite program will no longer be available for renewal after your current membership period comes to an end. In the meantime, you'll retain your Elite Pro benefits through your membership period.
And they're keeping the regular pro level.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, they're keeping the regular pro level, but they're just getting and this Elite program. I don't think it's more than a year old.
Yeah,
actually.
it's pretty new.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Yeah,
because I got that email as well, and I was like, I don't think it expired. I signed up for it in like the winter or something like that, and it was pretty new then.
Too.
And
me
then
too.
Yeah, and it hasn't been a year yet. I don't think.
Yeah, and have you used your Elite Pro program a lot?
I've used it a couple times. I used it to get Far Cry 5 for like $5 or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I used a coupon that I got with my points as well as Far Cry 5 being on sale, and then they also actually applied that sale to the pre-owned copy of it, which is something they don't do very often.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I'll have to check to see. I'll have to look at my status too. I think the only thing I've ever used on it, I had a coupon that was buy 2 get 1 free or something like that. So I used that.
Yeah, I think what I've mainly used it for is like coupons. Like you'll use a bunch of your points and then you'll get like $25 off any pre-owned game or something like that. And it hasn't come very regularly. Like the pace of that is maybe like I'll get 1 coupon every 2 years to use. That's like $25 off a pre-owned thing. But I mean, I used them, so that was cool. I guess this closing of the service won't affect me very much, I don't feel, because I wasn't using it very much. But it is interesting, and with all these rumblings about GameStop supposedly not doing very well, it makes it very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's my next question. Do you think this is pointing the end of GameStop?
That's interesting. That's another question that I'd like to see answered in the near future. But if I had to figure out what's going to happen in the future, guess I would say that I don't think I can see GameStop surviving, especially with one of Xbox's main boxes being primarily streaming, which would just completely cut out any physical releases whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I don't see GameStop continuing to exist in the same capacity that it currently does. But if they were able to scale back a little bit and be able to properly scale back for the lessened demand for things that are physical in nature, especially as the newer generation comes along and sees no detriment to buying things digitally, then they might still be able to make it just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, it's weird to me. I mean, it's weird also that, well, because Best Buy canceled their program. I was never part of that Best Buy program. Were you?
Yeah. The funny thing is I for the past like 3 or 4 years, I didn't have ready access to a Best Buy, so I wouldn't have been able to go into the store and sign up for one of the memberships. But after I moved, I now had access to a Best Buy, and I always told myself, man, that it has some pretty good deals, so I'm gonna sign up for that membership when I have the opportunity to. And so I did, and then the next day I was looking on the internet and they were like, oh, they canceled the membership, and I was like, oh no. And then they're like, oh, but you get to keep it as long as your membership until your membership expires. I'm like, oh yes, I may be one of the last people with an existing GCU membership. But that's how I got Rayman plus Rabbids for like $25 or something like that.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah, I'll be using it to pick up any new games that I end up picking up and getting like $15 off a $60 game or so. Nice.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if this is pointing towards the end of like the brick and mortar stores. That they just, with things going digital. I will say, like, going both into GameStop and into Best Buy, like, at least in this area, GameStop I think is similar across the country, but this area with Best Buy, you walk into their game section, and their game section is not as like, I don't want to say cool, but it used to be pretty cool. Like you walk in there and be like, oh my gosh, look at there are tons of demos. They would have all this other stuff, and now it's like really three aisles of game stuff, and then it's like board games and like more merchandise stuff, and that's really what GameStop has been pointing towards as well, doing more of the Think Geek stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of Kingdom Hearts figurines that are really creepy looking.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. And while some of that stuff appeals to me, like, when Toys R Us went under, like, I was really sad about that. Not that I've gone to a Toys R Us recently, but there's like a lot of fond memories of being able to just go into a Toys R Us and not only look at the toys, but the video game section was amazing. And same when now I used to go to what was that place called? KB Toys, which was awesome. That's where I got my NES. I was going to call it NES. Where I got my NES. And I remember going there, even buying like games like Kangaroo for Atari and all the like these are really fond memories. And I don't know, it's kind of sad to think of the brick and mortar stores kind of ending the ability to go and buy like physical copy of games. I don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of a strange thing.
Yeah, there was a point in time where there was like a switch that flipped in my head where I'm like, buying things digitally is okay, and that was about a year ago. About a year ago, when I just kind of ended up being okay with digital things. I definitely, in most cases, I prefer to have things physically. I like to have a small collection of things that I deem are of a certain quality standard, and things that I'll like to go back to and just pop the disc in and always have them there. But with a digital library, you're like tied to it because of your account. So even if you wanted to, you probably couldn't get rid of the games unless you just wholesale got rid of your account in some fashion. So I initially always bought things physically, but I think it was like Call of Duty World War II. When that came out, I was like, should I go to the store? Should I get this? Because I got Infinite Warfare physically. And so I was considering it. And then because of the ability of a PlayStation 4, you can have one as your primary PS4. And then that can play any of your downloaded games offline. But if you play on a different PS4, you have to be logged into your account. But if you are, you can also play those games. So my little brother, he has a PSN account. And so I ended up buying World War II digitally. And then he has my account as his primary PS4. His PS4 is my account's primary PS4, so that he can play World War II on his account while I'm logged into my account, and I can play World War II with him. And so it's essentially getting like 2 copies of the game for buying it once, which is, I mean, being able to play World War II with my little brother was a lot of fun. And it was something that I wouldn't have been able to experience had I just picked up the $60 physical version. And getting it digitally, I was able to just preload it so that exactly at midnight I could just sit around, and then once midnight rolled around, I was just able to press a button and boom, it worked. And the added fact that even if you get a physical copy of the game, it's still going to take up all of that space on your hard drive. That was another thing that I was kind of just like fine with getting digital copies at that point, because like in the PS3 era, I definitely preferred discs because I didn't have a lot of hard drive space. I had like a 60 gigabyte PS3, and that filled up fast. Yeah. So I definitely preferred to have a disc to just run things that way. But when these games already clog up your hard drive because they have to install when you have the disc anyways, and then you're shackled to that disc, like it has to be in the system despite the game being downloaded to your hard drive, I just figured it was okay just to get the games digitally at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I started playing more digital games about a year ago as well, and I will say that for me, it didn't bother me as much, and I actually prefer. I mean, in some aspects, I prefer digital games because it's just so much easier than have to switch out disc and the media and stuff like that. And the other thing most of my games that I own, you know, I go out and buy a physical copy, but I always think to myself, I'm never going to probably trade this game in anyway. There's sometimes where I'm trading a game and I'm like, I don't have any need for this, but there's a lot of games where I have a physical copy of, and I'm like, you know, I'm like GameStop's worst nightmare probably because I'll never trade in a game because I just, you know, I don't know. I always feel like, well, never know. I might want to keep it. There are times where I have traded in a game. Like I had Pokemon Blue, and I bought it for like $4.99, and I sold it for almost $40.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so that one I was like, I bought it used like years ago, and then I saw the value of it went up, and then I sold it. So sometimes I'll use it to invest in other games, but most times I don't.
Do you have most of your Switch games digitally?
I have 6 physical copies, and the rest of them are digital games.
Wow. Nice.
So like I have Mario vs. Rabbids as physical. I have, I don't have to go through them all. But I mean, I have like, I think the bigger names like Odyssey and such, I have all as physical copies. But I did buy, I think my first really big purchase I bought digitally. Like a lot of my indie games are digital games. But I think Hyrule Warriors. I got that digitally, and I find that I just play those games more often when they're digital than the hard copy.
Yeah, there's just like that tiny little bit of less like investment you have to put into it when you can just go to your menu and then press A on something, as opposed to like opening up the Switch cartridge slot, sliding it out, and then sliding the new one in.
Yeah,
it just makes it feel a little like there's a tiny bit of a less barrier to entry that way.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same thing like when, you know, people talk about developing, websites, like what's the call to action and the less amount of times people have to click and stuff like that, you know, like you said, the entry points, the more likely you're going to get people to actually do things. So,
what you were describing with using physical copies as a way to like invest in a different game is something that I've gotten some use out of recently. Because I find that nice. I find that as a plus for physical games, absolutely. Where, for example, I had Assassin's Creed Origins. I got it on Black Friday for like $25, and I had a GameStop membership, so they would give me more money for a pre-owned game. And I had already 100%ed and platinumed Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to play this again. And I wanted Nier Automata, and I ordered it on a Black Friday sale, but there was a shipping complication and they couldn't get it to me, so they just refunded me. And I was like, well, dang, I still want Nier Automata. So I looked at GameStop and they currently had it on sale for like $30 or something like that. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can trade in Assassin's Creed Origins for it. I got like $22 for Assassin's Creed Origins, which was like $3 less than I paid for it because I got it on Black Friday. And then I was basically able to get Nier Automata for like less than $10, which is awesome. And I like that game a lot. Nier Automata is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I think that if you invest well, like buying the games like you said on Black Friday, or buying them, you're able to buy them really cheap. You know, Jake has often said that to me too. Is like buying games, physical copies is an investment. You know, I bought Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. And that game was pretty expensive. I was able to get it for like $40, but I saw places that were selling it for $60 or more used copies. And when I bought it for $40, I was just like, oh, it's still a used game, pretty expensive. But you know, Jake was like, well, but it's an investment. Like, you know, who knows what's going to be worth, 10 years from now. But yeah, to me, I think it's the same thing that you just said about the fact that you were trying to buy it and then they're out of copies and you were able to get one. But the same thing happened to me with Octopath Traveller. I mean, I was looking for a physical copy of that game. I was looking all over for that game. I didn't see it, and I was just like, well, I'm just going to buy it digitally then because I know it's there. And this whole idea that there's a shortage of physical copies, it's not a problem for digital sales.
Yeah.
So
There's something in my brain that tells me that I want to buy single player games physically. I feel better about having single player things physically. So like God of War on PS4, I'll always have that physically, or like Nier Automata, I'll keep that physically, or Crash Bandicoot Trilogy, I'll keep that physically, or like Horizon Zero Dawn, I'll get the Spyro Trilogy physically, the Spider-Man, I'll get that physically. I don't know, it's just like the online nature of a game kind of makes it seem like it's kind of temporary anyways. So that's why I'm okay buying those digitally, I think.
yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. And recently, so this is why I said we could have probably talked about this a month and a half ago now.
Yeah.
There was discussion that GameStop might be bought out.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happens, what do you think that means for the game industry?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I don't know. I know that GameStop it was like a couple years ago that they established like a publishing arm, so they like started publishing video games and advertising them very heavily within their stores.
What was that one game that was pretty recent?
Oh, yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, I don't remember. Keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, that's really weird. But I assume that probably isn't proving entirely lucrative for them, because I'd imagine publishing games is a huge investment, and they're a video game store. They're trying to run a bunch of brick and mortar stores across the nation, and that means that they can't invest all of their money into a video game, so it can't be something that's very big budget. And because of that, it can't necessarily get mainstream appeal unless it's something that's very like cool and interesting and finds a really good audience. So I feel like that's probably something that'll get dissolved pretty quickly, because we haven't seen a lot of those games. I don't think, like maybe 3.
No. Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm curious to see what would become of a GameStop if maybe more Funko Pops and T-shirts.
Yeah. I think, to me, it seems weird that I don't know why they wouldn't focus more on like retro gaming.
Yeah.
Because those are the types of things that, outside of ROMs, you really can't. You can't stream. I mean, you can't get those things digitally.
Yeah.
And for collectors, I mean, like from a collector's standpoint, like PS4 is hard. From a collector's standpoint, because a lot of games are digital games. They're not physical copies, but man, PS3 and below. I mean, I know Jake is a huge collector of. I mean, he's trying to collect, or he has collected every North American PS3 game. But I mean, that's they should be really targeting that. I'm just surprised that they haven't done more of that. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I know that they kind of had a resurgence of that because they started doing like classic retro game sales again pretty recently, at least online. But yeah, that's kind of like an untapped market, because I would find going to GameStop way more interesting if they had more of that stuff. That's why I like going to like more independently run game stores, because they tend to like cherish that older stuff that I just never was able to experience.
Yeah. And then as of I haven't seen it recently, but there was a time where they were doing Cricket Wireless in their stores as well,
pushing the cell phones.
Yeah. That's weird.
It is weird. It feels like they're just trying to find something that'll stick.
Yeah. What do you think that would mean though if they got bought out? What do you think that means for like even Game Informer?
Oh yeah. I hope we would still see Game Informer in some capacity. They do some cool stuff. I enjoy seeing that nice physical magazine that's got this nice, well illustrated cover. And then they do like these cool blowout stories on games, and then they'll have like this nice little review section in the back. I enjoy having it to look at. It's definitely not my primary source for video game news or reviews, but I enjoy having it as supplementary material. I hope it still exists in some fashion.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think, they went through this already. They went through like a buyout. Before GameStop bought them out, they were part of another company as well. I would like to see that continue, because I mean, I think they do really good work there from a journalistic standpoint. And yeah, like you said, I really enjoy getting my magazine every month. That's the whole reason I actually sign up for like the those pro programs just to get my free cop free. But it's baked into the price, right? So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I would hope
that
whatever happens, if they do get bought out or if they close the doors, that they still are able to continue and exist. I would think they would be able to.
Yeah, we're headed for an uncertain future.
Yeah,
a lot of the big three are pushing for more digital sales, it seems.
Yeah, and GameStop tried to get into that market, but it's so hard because they probably a good portion of their, and we talked about this before on another episode, but a good portion of their revenue comes from used games. So if you start pushing in digital, you're not going to see those games come in and so you could resell them. So what impact would GameStop have if it closed its doors? What impact do you think that would happen in the game industry?
Yeah, it would kind of just cut off a certain portion of the market, I think, because they're probably the main source of physical video game copies in the US for a lot of people, at least. You'll still get physical copies at like your Walmarts or your Best Buys if Best Buy stays up and running for long enough. But I think we'll definitely kind of see a shift towards even less physical copies being out in the wild.
Yeah. Do you think that do you think that they're hurting because of Amazon? Do you think that this is another fallout from like Amazon just kind of, being a better service and able to service more people?
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible too. Yeah, I've heard mixed things about Amazon actually delivering on their physical copies, especially if they're pre-ordered and like ordered for release day. Whereas like a GameStop, if they have a midnight release, you can go there the second it releases and pick up your copy, which is nice. I mean, that's why I've ordered things from GameStop in the past for like picking up Mario Odyssey and being able to play it at 11:10 p.m.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've heard that too. I mean, I'll even because I'm really into Octopath Traveller right now, and I'll see people saying, "Oh, I haven't gotten my copy I ordered, but pre-order from Amazon yet." I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't sound good."
Yeah.
That's one thing I will say that GameStop has done a really good job with is the fact that you can pre-order from them. You can pick it up, like you said. They'll have like the releases at midnight. You can go get them. And even like the GameStop here in our town. I've gone in there and I'm looking for this certain game, and like they do a good job with like trying to help you out and try to find it in another store and say, hey, we can get this shipped to you. And a lot of times they'll say, we'll just go ahead and waive the the shipping costs and everything for you. We'll just have it shipped here. Like that's to me, I think like you're not going to get that through Amazon, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that I'm going to miss about. Even having conversations, I'll go in there and I'll talk about like this game and like I know the different the people that work there, and they know what kind of games they like to play, and so we'll talk about their likes and what they're seeing in the games in the industry. So that's all stuff that we're gonna miss if we the store closes.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Any final thoughts on this topic?
No, I think we had a good conversation about it.
Listeners, if you have some thoughts about what impact it would have on the game industry if GameStop does happen to close its doors, I'd like to hear from you. We would like to hear from you. You can send us a tweet at GamerHeads PC. You can also direct message us there as well. We have that open for you. You can also reach us out on Facebook at facebook.com/GamerHeadsPodcast. And then you can also email us directly too at gamerheadspodcast@gmail.com. All right, Christian, before we head out, let's talk about games that we're playing. What have you been playing? You've been streaming a lot, too.
I have, yeah. I streamed through my playthrough of Chasm in its entirety.
That's crazy. You finished that in, like, less than a week.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy that I did. I was hesitant at first. I like being able to start something knowing that I'm going to finish it. And I read a couple other reviews and they were saying it clocked in right around 8 hours. And I was like, oh, okay, that's definitely manageable. If it was something around like 20, 25, that would have made it a little harder to finish in a week and stream the whole thing while I do it. But it was a fun experience being able to stream an entire playthrough. It's kind of weird thinking about that. I like just having that archived somewhere and like being able to see kind of how my opinions and skill of the game kind of developed and evolved over time while I played through it, which was really cool. But yeah, I finished Chasm. Have you heard of this Chasm game, Roger?
Just from you.
Just from me? It's a randomly generated Metroidvania that was kickstarted supposedly like 4 years ago. So this thing has been in like active development for a long time and just came out this week, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And yeah, so what I mean by randomly generated Metroidvania is that it's a little different because every game that you start, like you'll start a new file, and then that will have a seed, and that seed will apply to the whole game world. It'll apply to every level. So like every item that you get will be in a set place as soon as you start the game. It isn't like randomly generated as you go along, and there isn't permadeath. It's very much inspired by Symphony of the Night. It's like a pixel art Symphony of the Night almost, in the sense that you are slashing enemies, you're leveling up, you are equipping different equipment to become slightly stronger, using magic to use your different weapons, and just getting stronger as you go along, coming across items that let you get to new areas pretty much. So it's very similar to that. Like, even like the way you save is very similar to Symphony of the Night, because you'll have these save points and a coffin doesn't show up, but you save, and then the next time you die and game over, it sets you back to your last save. So it'll boot you back to the main menu, and then you'll have to go and load your save, and then you'll start over that way, which makes saving very important in the way that it was in Symphony of the Night. Have you played Symphony of the Night, Roger?
You know, it's funny. I am a huge Castlevania fan. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I have not played that game because I should just get on the PS4. I think it's available on the PS4. You can get it. I think you can, or PS3. No, PS3.
PS3. I think you can.
Yeah. I just, I've been keeping an eye out for that game, and I wanted a physical copy of that game. I just haven't seen it. And it was a weird time where it was a weird time in my life where I didn't play a whole lot of games, and I wasn't buying a whole lot of games. And then I just missed out on that game, when it came out. So that's one game that I am lacking in my Castlevania collection. I try to have, I try to get a good physical collection of Castlevania games, and that's one that just eludes me. And I don't know. I'm hesitant to buy it digitally because of the fact that I want to own it. So
yeah, it would be cool to hear you get your hands on a copy. I played it back in the PSP days. I had a PSP, and I had a digital copy of that and played it through on my PSP. Played through a good portion on a plane. But I enjoyed Symphony of the Night quite a bit, yeah. The animation is really cool. It's like a 2D pixel art, almost PS1 game, which there aren't a lot of, and they look fantastic when they do make them. Because I think they have more bandwidth for animation and stuff like that, and it all looks great in 2D on a PS1. And it's similar here, where the animation all looks fantastic in Chasm. The game itself kind of looks a little blurry. I think they emphasize it being authentic pixel art, and they keep it to a certain resolution, I believe. And I think it's like something along the lines of a Super Nintendo or something. But the visuals themselves, like the animation, is all really fluid. It's clearly stuff that couldn't have been pulled off on an SNES. And it looks really great. It feels really great. The jumping all feels good. The things that didn't feel as good to me were stuff like double jumping, like the abilities you get like this wall grab, and you have to keep on holding into the direction of the wall in order to actually grab onto it, instead of just like being close to it. And that took some getting used to. Wall jumps are also kind of weird and finicky and led me to dying sometimes when I didn't want to. But overall, I think the mechanics are incredibly tight, very highly polished, which is something that I liked a lot, because I enjoyed learning that in order to keep my mobility while attacking an enemy, I kind of had to get used to doing this jump slash, because if you get an entirety of a slash off while you're in the air, you maintain your mobility once you hit the ground, whereas if you just do a slash while on the ground, you remain still for that entire animation. So it led to like a bunch of bouncing, like tight window jump slashing, which was kind of fun to get into.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any questions about it, Roger?
No, I was just gonna say that if you wanted to watch the complete stream, you can go to our Facebook page for that.
Yeah, you can. It's all there. It's all up. It took me about 7 or so hours to get through on stream, and it was pretty enjoyable. I give a lot of my thoughts while I'm going through the game.
Nice.
The random generated nature of it was probably the main thing that kind of turned me off to it. I understand that the ultimate idea of Chasm is amazing, a Metroidvania that you can just play again and again and again and just keep getting more and more out of it. Whereas in execution, it's pretty clear that it's largely the same game, but the layout of the map is just going to be different. Because they're not going to want you getting an item or getting an ability too early. So they clearly made the random generation in such a way that you're not going to get this item until this point in the game, or this other item until this point. And yeah, it must have been really hard to pull off all of this complexity with the random generation, but a lot of the areas just kind of feel empty, especially in comparison to another Metroidvania that I just played, Hollow Knight, which is completely handcrafted. None of it is randomly generated. And because of that, it kind of just felt, empty. A lot of things just felt like, okay, here's another hallway with 2 enemies in it, as opposed to actually creating this cool world. And a lot of the story, there's a story there, something about an ancient society and this evil being awakened in this cave, and you're trying to become a knight, but it all kind of feels inconsequential and not very original. But I'd say overall it was definitely worth a playthrough if Metroidvanias are up your alley, because at the very least a single playthrough of it is a lot of fun.
Would you say that it's the replay value though? It doesn't sound like you're going to go back to it.
Yeah.
You play through it once and you're like, okay, I'm good. But is there a lot of replay value? So once you beat whatever, are these castles that you're fighting through? What are they?
It's a cave. You go through this mine or this cave, and then you fight through different levels of it.
So when you beat a cave, is there replay value that you could have all your stats and everything go through a new cave then?
No, I don't believe so. It's just, I think it's just create a whole new game, and then you have to start your stats from 0 again.
I don't know. I kind of was hoping that you can continue your quest and just go through all these other random generated caves and continue your character. I think that would be cool, but I can understand why they wouldn't do that. Then it wouldn't have much of a story then at that point.
Yeah, if there was a more thread that drew from roguelikes in some sense, where you're just continuously progressing, that would have been really cool to see. But yeah, it's just a Metroidvania that'll randomly generate and spit out a game for you to play. That's largely pretty similar because they want to rip you through the same beats.
Yeah. It's our experiences might be a little bit different, but overall it'll be the same.
Yeah, from what I understand, you're going to be solving the same puzzles. They're just going to have different solutions. You're going to be fighting the same bosses. They're just going to be in different spots. That kind of deal.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I also finished Hollow Knight, speaking of Metroidvanias.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I finished Hollow Knight, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I'm not the biggest fan of Metroidvanias, but Hollow Knight just converted me. It made me love what Metroidvanias can do because it's just fantastic. The sound design is crazy good. The art direction I fell in love with, despite not liking it at first. The combat all feels really satisfying. You've got this little downward slash that you can do on an enemy, and it makes you bounce a little bit in the vein of Shovel Knight or what's it called, DuckTales?
Yeah.
Yeah, DuckTales. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
You can do the downward slash, and it's got this fun little bounce. And I found that was a very effective way of dealing with a lot of enemies. And the way they dole out upgrades is awesome because they're all traversal based, and you can use them in just your regular traversal. It feels fantastic. I just loved it very much. I didn't 100% it because I just wanted to get through it and experience it. But after I finished it, you don't get the best ending unless you 100% the game.
Oh.
So I am definitely considering going back and playing it some more and doing everything in it. And this is one of the few games where I'm actually considering also getting it on Switch. Just because I loved it so much, and I'd love to be able to play it while I'm on the go, and having to play through everything again, that doesn't sound bad to me. That sounds like a lovely thing. But yeah, this is one of my favorite games in a long time.
Wow.
I've played it in a long time. It's definitely up there.
And they're coming out with a new DLC soon too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they continue
For
putting out this
free.
free DLC. Yeah, what's not to love with Hollow Knight?
I know. It's funny because I also have been playing Hollow Knight, but I'm not very far in it because other games have been taking my time. But I love the mechanics. I love the look and feel of the game too. I thought it was really, really good. It just plays really well on the Switch.
Yeah, it's a fantastic Switch game. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. What about you, Roger?
That's not true. I saw a game you were playing this morning.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You got me. I'm guilty as charged. Next on the stream, the next game that I want to stream through on Facebook is Rise of the Tomb Raider, in preparation for Shadow of the Tomb Raider coming out next month. So if you follow the Facebook page, GamerHeads Podcast, you should see me a lot this coming week playing some Tomb Raider.
Nice. Yeah, so thank you for doing that. That's awesome. And I see that you got a lot of people watching it and responding to things, so interacting with you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Feel free to stop by.
Yeah, cool. Games that I've been playing. So I have been playing Octopath Traveller still. That is my main game that I've been playing. I absolutely love this game so much. Oh my gosh, it is so good.
That's
it's
awesome.
So good. Like, I know a lot of people are complaining the fact that, and I know we talked about this before, but that, all these characters are not interconnected, but that doesn't bother me at all. Like, I feel like, to me, I think like it makes it even more interesting that these characters are going to work together to help each other out. Like, I don't need them to be connected. Like, to me, like, that's old D&D, old school D&D. Like, you have characters that are willing to work together. Their backgrounds are diverse, but hey, you know what? We're going to go and fight together. I just picked up my 6th character, and I beat his boss. I'm going through it kind of slow, probably slower than most people, because when I pick up a new character, I'll grind until they get to about level 8 or 9, and then I'll take on their boss. But then, like, my main is at level 15. She's almost level 16 now.
How does that play out, having party members that are of varying levels?
It works out pretty well. So what's great about the game is that you can go into an area. So like, in the area that I'm in right now, it's like level 11, I think you can be at or so. So like my main's 15 and my other 2 are like 13. And then, I was picking up the Elfin, which is the apothecaryist. I'm not sure if that's a word or not, but he dabbles in apothecary. So he was level 1, and I was just taking on these monsters that were pretty easy for my other 3 characters to take on. But Elfin would struggle with them on his own. But then he was leveling super fast. And even though like it was slower for my other characters, they were still getting plenty enough XP that I could still level them. That wasn't detrimental to my grind at all.
Okay.
Do they have... The bosses are so good.
That's awesome. Do they have all of your party members fighting at one time, so they're all gaining XP in every fight?
No. See, that's the thing. You can pick up to 4 players, 4 party members.
I see.
And then after you get all your party members, then you can start doing shrines. I think you could probably do it beforehand, but they're very high level. But shrines means that there you can get a second job. So like, what I'm gonna eventually do is have my healer, who is higher level than my apothecarist. I'm not sure what do you call those people, but she's gonna learn apothecary, so that way she can do healing and through either magic or through her apothecary skills. So she can concoct potions and such. And then I'll have I'll probably have like one of my other characters, Cyrus, who is the scholar who does like magic. I'll probably have him be a like secondary job being like a hunter, so you can have also pets with him. So it's like you just have to kind of think through like what the combinations you want to have,
Yeah.
You can never change out your main. So whoever you picked as your main character, you can never switch out. So Primrose, the dancer, is my main character.
Gotcha.
And she is super cool because she does like magic where she can either buff your characters or does magic to attack the enemies, but she can also allure people to join her, so she can have a companion with her. So like it's almost like in one of my boss fights, I had her bring an NPC with her, and then I had my Ophelia, who is the cleric. I had her. She does this thing called like guiding light or something like that, where she like convinces people to join her. So I had her have somebody. So I had 6 members of my party basically, because I had 2 NPCs fighting alongside me, fight against her boss. That was awesome. It was such a good fight. It was so epic. I don't know. This game is so epic. It's like the boss battles are so fun, I think. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I'm enjoying that game a lot. So I've been playing that a lot. The other game that I've been playing, just dabbling here and there yet with, is Galactic Z. I know I mentioned this before, but that game, I still find it fun and interesting. I haven't played it as much, but I do log in daily, so I can just get my daily rewards. So I can get my energy and stuff like that, so I can buy things with the bot points and such.
I'm really happy to hear that Octopath Traveller is actually so good, because I know I've heard that Bravely Default by the same developers is really good. And I'm really happy to hear that they had a chance to shine with the Switch.
Yeah, me too. I have Bravely Default. I haven't played much of that game. It didn't hook me as much as this game. This game really hooked me. And I think part of it kind of harkens back to the Super Nintendo or SNES. Those old games where there's just something about the game that just I won't say it takes a lot for a game to hook me, but there is something where if I'm going to have my little bit of game time that I do have to play, like sometimes it's spread across many games.
Yeah.
And then I'll just start playing games here and there, whatever. But this one just really has latched onto me that I'm like, okay, this is the game I'm going to be playing, and I want to beat this game. So yeah, it's really fun. I'm like probably like a eighth into the game right now. I still got a long way to go, but it's really fun. So yeah, it's really exciting. That game's really good. The other game that I've been playing with my wife is Overcooked. So I want to beat this game before Overcooked 2 comes out on Tuesday on the Switch.
Ooh, got a ticking clock there, Roger.
I know. It's gonna be close. I think we can do it though, because we've beaten all the levels, and now we have to go and do like one final test on each level. And then once we complete all that, then we can take on the final boss. So we've done 1 or 2 of the final challenges, 5 worlds. I think we've done 1 or 2 of the final challenges for each world. So, but my brother-in-law is coming over today, and my niece is coming over as well.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna play 4-player. I'm super excited about it because, like, one thing that my wife has said, she's like, "You just love the chaos in that game." I'm like, I do. It's so chaotic. I just love people running into each other and be like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" Like, I don't know. It's so fun.
It requires a ridiculous amount of coordination and like teamwork.
Yes.
It's crazy. I played like the first world and then like some of the second one, and we just had to put it down because it was too difficult for both of us.
Yeah, so my wife and I have been going through and trying to get Star 2 and everything.
Oh man, you guys are too good.
No, well, I will say, so my wife is a completionist. I'm not. So she's one that's been pushing and saying, well, we don't have 3 stars in this one yet. We got to get all 3 stars.
Yeah.
So I think all but like level 4 and 5, the last 2 worlds, we have all 3 stars in every level.
Yeah.
So, and you need so many stars to move on anyway. So we eventually had to go back and get some of these stars too.
I gotcha.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm super excited about Overcooked 2 because it's going to have online multiplayer, so that's going to be so much fun. I'm hoping that you can play like co-op and online at the same time, so you can have like 2 people co-op, or and then have 2 people online.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Like that's what they did for Mario Kart Wii, I should say.
Oh yeah.
You could play online with people, but then have local people play. I'm hoping that's the case here. I don't know. We'll see. And then the other game that we'll probably play today is my brother-in-law's never played Mario Party.
Really?
Which
one?
Switch. Or not Switch. On this Wii.
On the Wii?
We'll probably play the first Wii one. I think it was at 6 or 7. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Yeah, that sounds right. Somewhere around there.
So, but most people don't like playing that game against my wife and I because we're not to sound like we're really good, but we're pretty good at that game. We've been, we played that game a lot. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, Mario Party's weird. It's like the only game that my parents will really like always be down for, and when they play it, they're there for the whole thing. They'll play it for hours, and as soon as they get to with the board game, I'm like exhausted, and they're like, "Oh, let's do another one, maybe."
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I'm excited about. We talked about this, but I'm excited about the new Super Mario Party game that's coming on the Switch.
Yeah.
I'm really stoked about connecting a bunch of Switches together. I think that'd be really fun to see that.
Absolutely. I'm excited, Roger. I'm excited to hear what you think about Undercooked 2. See if it lives up to the expectations set by the first one.
Yeah. I was listening to interview with the developers, and it's funny because they said in Overcooked 1 they learned a lot about how people play this game, and one thing they said they learned was, and Tanya and I do this all the time, my wife, is we're like, okay, we only need so many points to get that next star.
Yeah.
All right, I know that there's like a meal here that somebody wants. Well, let's just make one that like get us higher points. Because so if it takes you longer to cook things, you get less and less money for each, or points or money for each one. So we towards the end of the 5-minute match or whatever those things are, I think they're 3 minutes maybe, but we would start making items that would just get us points so we can get to that next star.
Nice.
And they're like, yeah, we learned about that. We saw people playing it that way, so we changed things up in the game mechanics that won't allow you to kind of cheat the system that way. I'm like, damn it. Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So before we go, then how can people get a hold of you, Christian?
Yeah, they can get a hold of me at Christian Cubs on Twitter, or hit up the facebook.com/GamerHeads podcast. I'll be watching that pretty closely.
Yeah. So if you go to GamerHeads, facebook.com/GamerHeads podcast, you'll more than likely, if you go on there and send messages or whatever, post things, you're more than likely going to be conversing with Christian.
Absolutely.
If you go to our Twitter, GamerHeads PC, at GamerHeads PC, you're more than likely going to be talking to me. So that's one way you can get a hold of us as well on Twitter. You can also, like I said, follow us on Facebook. And then you can also email us at gamerheadspodcast@gmail.com. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And for Christian and myself, thank you so much. And GamerHeads out.